Rachel, and today we're going to go over my 5 top favorite daily go-to poses when I don't have time or when I just need some movement in my body. These are my daily go-to poses. So starting with number 1. Starting off in tabletop position here. Coming through a series of cow cats. So cow pose, with an inhale, you want to think of lifting your tailbone, sit bones spread apart. Allow the belly to fall down towards your mat. Open across the chest and lift the chin up gently. On an exhale, going the other direction. So start from the tailbone, moving up the spine. Really finding that lift here in the navel, hollowing out the front body, and bring your chin in towards your chest last. So I like to do these for a few rounds, maybe 8 cycles of breath, every inhale cow and every exhale cat. And you can be the judge, making smart choices for you about how exaggerated you want to make these poses. You don't have to go so deeply. But I really appreciate these poses just helping me sync breath with movement. I'm just really getting into the spine here, as well as helping me to connect with my hands on the mat, moving up the chain, moving up the forearms, then the upper arms and the shoulders here. I feel like I have to be really integrated while doing these cat-cow poses. I like how dynamic they are. And how you can continue to explore from this position to other different variations, other modifications. A lot to do and a lot to explore with these cow cats. Coming to pose number 2, what I really like is downward facing dog. So this really helps me find space in my body, as well as I continue to stay integrated in my hands, really pressing down through those finger pads so I don't dump into my wrists, especially my outer wrists. It makes me feel strong in this pose as I create more space in the body. And just like in just like in cat and cow pose, same thing, you can make this very dynamic, giving the head a shake, yes and no, finding that tension being released there. I know I hold a lot of my tension in the shoulders and my neck. You can bend your knees both at the same time, or one at a time. Even moving your hips from side to side, getting that nice side length body stretch. Or just even staying in stillness, finding a static downward facing dog. There's so much to continue to refine, to continue to engage, to continue to look inwards with this pose. Lowering the knees down gently to come out of this pose. And coming to pose number 3, I really like to come into a nice heart opening shape, especially after a long day, whether it's in front of my computer or even driving or on my laptop, or same as computer, but on my phone I meant. Coming into Sphinx pose. Coming down into the belly. Placing your arms shoulder width distance apart. You could grab onto your opposite upper arms, aka your biceps. And then just bring your arms out into parallel. Feet could be about hip width distance apart. I like to lift my leg up one at a time just to create space here in the front body, in front of the hips and thighs. All 10 toenails turned downwards into the mat. So a really key thing here with this Sphinx pose is to keep your tailbone long so you're not sticking your butt up in the air, so you create that space here in the low back. And you also want to create this action here of finding a lift here in the low belly. Think of your navel as if you're trying to peel it up off your mat here. That's to help protect the low spine. So imagine like you're hugging everything around that low spine here, from the back side of the body and the front side of the body. And also creating this action of pulling your forearms back here. It helps create the chest to open up more and shoulders dropping back. If it's too much, you could always bring your arms forward here. You don't have to feel your shoulders stacked on top of your elbows. Creating a milder, possibly more tolerable back bend here. And then after a few moments of breath, just come down onto your hands, making a small pillow here. And if you feel like your low back was feeling a little congested, you could bend your knees and just wiggle the legs from side to side, windshield wiping them out. Now coming into pose number 4, I really like this yogic squat. Malasana. So from the profile view, from the side view, my butt is heavy, tailbone reaching down towards my mat, kind of snuggled into my legs with my upper arms, hands in front of heart center here. This really helps get into the flexibility of the ankles and the calves and the hips. And I feel like this is actually a much more comfortable position to be in. Maybe not after a few minutes, but over time, I find it more beneficial than sitting on a chair or on a couch here. So sometimes when I'm out and about and I feel like I need to take a seat and I don't want to sit on the dirty ground, I will come into this squat position. If what I'm wearing and the ground, if it's flat or not, then I would obviously make a wise decision based on that. So, but I find this a very helpful pose for everyone in terms of if I had to choose between sitting in a chair or coming into the squat position. And from here, you can do so much with it. Again, keeping it dynamic or keeping it static or adding other variations. This is a pose that you can do a lot with than just having to maybe just stay in here, or even just staying here is a-okay. My final pose, pose number 5, it's a supine twist, meaning we'll be facing up on our backs. Arms could be out in a T shape or in a cactus shape. And then just having the legs brought over to one side. You want to think of the hips more or less in line with your shoulders here, so they're not too far off in the distance. You can look up towards the ceiling, or if your neck is feeling up for it, you could turn your head away from the knees. This really helps get into the low back, into the back side of the body, find a little bit more space, a little bit more length. Gets into the outer hips, the thighs. And depending on what arm variation that you have, I find that it also gets more into the chest and shoulders as well. Remember to do both sides. Giving attention to both sides of your body. And with this one, you can also do different leg variations, like eagle, crossing one leg on top. You can have your legs straight. It just really depends on what calls to you. So many variations, so many different modifications that you can make. Coming up back through center, you can roll onto whichever side or rock up and down. And then making your way onto your seat. So those are my 5 go-to daily poses that I like to visit every single day. And if you have any other ones that you'd like to add to your own collection of poses, feel free to build on top of the ones that I've just provided you with. And please subscribe and like my video to help support me so I can help support you to create content that helps with you and your practice. And thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Namaste.